Nicola Sturgeon plots with Michel Barnier to take Scotland back into the EU, and Dominic Cummings finds a new way of fighting back against the establishment. Hello everyone and welcome to another show. Today we're talking about the SNP and their new plan to make sure that Scotland could eventually one day rejoin the European Union, and we also talk about the Dominic Cummings and his new way of fighting back against the establishment. Make sure to watch to the end of the video when we talk about that and the HS2 as a policy that's being pushed ahead by the government. But before we start, let's address the backdrop. We received a lot of comments in the previous shows complaining about this, the backdrop. To clarify, this is a temporary backdrop. I'm currently in New York for the next few days. I'm going to go back to London. We're going to have our normal background. This is not by choice. So people who keep complaining about this, be patient. Soon it's going to go away. Now, let's get on with the show. Yes, apparently Nicola Sturgeon and the SNP have now been talking with the European Union and Michel Barnier to find a way so that they create a pathway for the future so that Scotland could become independent and then rejoin the European Union. Now, obviously, a lot of people have reacted quite negatively towards this piece of news. She said that the right to diverge will come at a cost, and in my view, a cost that is too heavy. We're also looking in Scotland to what we can do within our devolved powers to maintain as close as possible ties with Europe. For example, we will attempt to introduce legislation that enables Scotland to keep pace with EU regulatory standards where we have the power to do so. It is a way in which we can protect the health and well-being of people in Scotland, maintain the international regulation of businesses in Scotland, and make it easier when the time comes, as I believe it will, for Scotland to return to the European Union. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. There are a number of issues with this. Firstly, the whole attempt is stupid. Why are you doing this? Secondly, considering the European Union, the European Commission come up with some random regulations and directives on a daily basis, it's going to be very difficult to stay up to date with them unless you're a member and you just automatically adopt whatever they send to you. That's one thing. Secondly, a lot of the directives that they come up with wouldn't actually apply to Scotland. So why would you copy and paste something that's not really related to you? It makes no sense. Thirdly, the cost of mirroring all these regulations. Yeah, good luck with that. This is all being done in the hope that one day in the future, when we go begging the EU to rejoin, the European Union could look at their paperwork and say, oh, well, at least you basically have been copy and pasting all our laws and regulations. So fine, you're no longer at the back of the queue. You can skip the queue, unlike Turkey and other countries, and just rejoin. It doesn't work that way. So, but she said more than this, actually. Let's look at this, because she was in Brussels and she met with Michel Barnier to outline her stance on Brexit, and she's vowed that she wants to hold a new Scottish independence referendum before the country then rejoins the European Union. She said that there is goodwill towards Scotland in Europe, and we want to build on that goodwill in order to outline a clear route to that accession and to demonstrate that we have much to offer. Nicola Sturgeon, obviously, she's delusional, she's a fantasist, and she genuinely thinks that she's going to force Westminster to have an independence referendum. Now, obviously, it's still close. If there is a referendum, it could go either way. It could stay in the union, they could leave. That's irrelevant to this point. The issue is the way she wants to implement this and achieve her goals. Now, considering Scotland is still part of the United Kingdom, the Westminster government needs to be quite strong on this, because she can't really just go to Brussels, have meetings with Michel Barnier and plan the future together. She's basically cheating on her existing partners. So that's where we are. But she's not the only one, and the SNP are not the only people who are refusing to accept that Brexit has happened and we have become independent. There are certain local councils across the country, especially Hounslow Council, who are still in denial. Yes, Hounslow Council, one of the West London local councils, is refusing to take down the EU flag from the building. And they say, we'll keep the EU flag flying. And it's absolutely shameful and disgraceful. Hounslow Council have insisted that it would continue to display the blue and gold stars outside the town hall to show solidarity with European citizens who call the borough their home. I don't know why they do that. Hounslow is very boring, but in a tweet, the council has said that the EU flag will keep flying at Hounslow House, a symbol that we remain an internationalist borough, a gateway to London for people and business, a place which embraces diversity and which EU citizens can call home. I mean, give me a break. Seriously. It's happened, guys. It's happened. Move on. But one of the reasons that these people need to move on seriously is because if you want to rejoin the European Union in the future, even within the next couple of years, things are changing fast. With Ursula von der Leyen, with people like Guy Verhofstadt, and the plans that they have to accelerate federalism on a crazy level. The moment you join the EU, firstly, you're going to have to be inside Schengen. You're going to have to accept euro as a currency. You're going to have to basically lose control of your central bank. You have to say no to your actual sovereignty and your national parliaments. You think I'm kidding? This is exactly what Guy Verhofstadt tweeted the other day. Yeah, Guy Verhofstadt basically said, 28 years ago, we created European citizenship. Now the EU must move forward again. Brexit has shown us that the key reform should be to strengthen and deepen EU citizenship. Now, we know exactly what he means. They basically want to completely destroy nation states and have one family of Europeans who are all very similar people, even though they are very different, with different languages and different cultures and different priorities. But we're all the same. Yeah, Guy Verhofstadt. Delusional. This is why there are some obviously people who are in this country saying the younger generation, they're going to grow up and in the next 5-10 years or next generation they're going to be wanting to go back into the EU. That's a lie. Firstly, that depends if the European Union will still survive until then, in the next couple of generations. Secondly, younger people who are delusional right now, when they grow up, they're going to become more conservative minded and more Brexity basically. This is a professor from the Birmingham City University's Centre for Brexit Studies. Yeah, that's a job. So he's told the Express that internationalised young people would hope to re-enter the EU on the back of a generational shift. But he has actually added that the re-entry would mean the UK has to concede due to a weaker position. Well, obviously. And but that's absolutely idiotic, thinking that this could actually happen. But enough about that and the whole EU establishment. Let's talk about the Westminster establishment, because the Boris Johnson's government, there are certain people in the Tory government and Whitehall who keep pushing for interventionist policies. There are reformists like Dominic Cummings who are trying to push back. It's been okay so far, but certain areas it's been difficult to challenge, especially when it comes to Treasury and Sajid Javid with his socialist-like policies. One issue is now HS2, and obviously Dominic Cummings, like myself, we despise this policy. It makes absolutely no sense. It's a stupid project. For people who don't know, if you're watching from abroad, HS2 is high-speed rail 2. Because it sounds nice, it's got speed in it, and it's got rail, and it's got number 2. People think it's a good project. It's infrastructure. Why not? No, it's not. It's stupid. It's expensive. It's meaningless, and it's only going to help London. And so what we need is actually do proper infrastructure. Invest into our railways and actually sort out the north, especially the divide between north and south, northeast, northwest, East Midlands, West Midlands. These are those areas that you need to actually improve. Now, Dominic Cummings was doorstepped by journalists again this morning, and they asked him what his view is on this whole HS2 policy. This was his response.
Mr. Cummings,
morning.
in the past you've called HS2 a disaster zone and an error, so why is it going ahead?
The night time is the right time to fight crime.
I love this guy. Okay, keep watching.
The night time is the right time to fight crime. I'm thinking of a rhyme.
Have you lost your influence now, is that the case, or have you changed your mind on HS2?
I think we need PJ Masks on the job.
Comment on the Cabinet reshuffle.
PJ Masks will do a great job with all of them together.
I can't think of a rhyme.
Now, firstly, for people who don't know what PJ Masks is, they're a group of, it's a cartoon, it's an animated cartoon, and they're the group of superheroes that fight the baddies at night time. Only at night time, because why not? And the best moment of his answer was that the PJ Masks would do a better job than the current cabinet.
PJ Masks will do a great job with all of them together.
Absolutely love this guy. So obviously he's one man inside this big machine trying to reform it, and there's a lot of pushback from civil service, from this certain wet Tory ministers. But he's doing a great job, and the Tory party, the grassroots membership, ordinary people out there, ordinary Brexit voters, it's our job to also push back. It's our job to make sure that our voices are being heard. This is the whole point of this channel, and we're not going to stop until we make sure that our politicians truly serve the public and the interest of the public. So if you want to join our movement, our media movement, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and click on the bell next to it so you get notified. We have a daily show at 5:45 p.m. GMT on my Tousi. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a new video.